Hi, everyone. In this example, we will look at calculation of overall rating. Very helpful when you're looking at different parameters from, let us say, a survey or a training that has happened. And you want to keep some conditions on the basis of which you assign weights and then compute the overall rating. This is the dataset that we have. We have three parameters here, which is physical setting, the faculty feedback, and the content. All of these are on a scale of 1 to 5. And then, of course, we have the overall, which is the average of parameter 1, 2, and 3. There are three possible results. We have a poor, a good, and an excellent. Let us look at the extremes first. For poor, the average has to be less than 4. That means that if the average is less than 4, it doesn't really matter what the other scores are, right? Now, it is another thing to say that if, for example, one of these was a 5 and the others were 1 and 1, of course, the average is going to be less than 4. Now, this is an interesting situation where two parameters are a perfect 5, but one of them is a 1. If it's a 2, that's okay. But if it's a 1, then the average is coming as 3.67, which as per our combinations permitted is not allowed. The way for somebody to get an excellent is for the average to be greater than or equal to 4.5. So 4.5 is the minimum. And every single parameter has to be greater than 4. And at least one parameter has to be equal to 5. So think of a situation where the scores are 4.6, 4.6, 4.6. Now, while the average is clearly 4.6 and every parameter is also greater than 4, no single parameter is equal to 5, which is what we want. So the first thing we do is to put in an if. And since there are multiple things that we will be checking, we have to use an and. The first thing we check is whether the average is less than 4. And that's the easiest way to eliminate one of the results, because if it is less than 4, then obviously the result is poor. As a matter of fact, this one would not require an and, but we do require an and in the next one, where we say that if my average is less than, or rather it is greater than or equal to 4.5, the next condition being that all the three parameters have to be independently greater than 4. So we say greater than 4, greater than 4, and then this one is as well greater than 4. So if all of these are greater than 4, and the final condition being that at least one parameter, so there is a choice, which means that at least one of these three parameters is equal to a perfect 5. So the first one is equal to 5, or the second one is equal to 5, or the third one is equal to 5. If and only if all of these conditions are met, right? Just to make it a little easier, I want to put the condition in 3 lines. So the average is greater than or equal to 4.5. Each of the 3 parameters independently is greater than 4. And there is a choice between the 3, but at least one of them has to be greater than 5. If all of these conditions are met, then the result is excellent. And then obviously the other option left is good. Let's drag it down. As you can see, we're getting an excellent here. Now, what if the scores were a little different? What if one of this was 3? Now you notice it becomes a good, but if this was 3 and a 2, then the average drops down and it becomes less than 4, hence the result is 4. What if the parameter 3 was not a perfect 5, it was a 4.9 or a 4.8, whichever one? Again, you notice that despite the scores being really good, the answer is also a good because none of the three parameters came as a perfect 5. These type of examples are also very, very important because there are lots of use cases for this, and there are lots of situations wherein there are many different permutations and combinations that you have to look at. While these are not necessarily difficult formulas, it can be very helpful to learn how to write these longer formulas to save yourself a lot of time. Otherwise, if you break it into smaller parts, A, it becomes very cumbersome to manage, and B, in some ways, it increases the complexity. It's better to have everything in a single place. One more tip that I would like to give everyone is that there is a free add-in available. So if I go to insert and add-ins, there is an add-in called the Formula Forge. Let me add it. It's a free add-in. It gets added in the formulas tab at the very end. And when you click on it, what it does is it opens up your formula in a tree view. I find this exceptionally helpful, especially when you're writing a very long, complex formula, or you're facing an issue with the formula, or if you want to explain the formula to someone. This is a beautiful way of understanding how the hierarchy is flowing. For example, here you can see that 4.9 is less than 4, right? Which is false because it is not less than 4. Now you can also see that all of these have to come as true. That's why you have a true, 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 and a true. There are 5 trues, as the result is a true as well. And the result is an excellent. Otherwise, it would have been a good. So it's very helpful to be able to write formulas like this. There is one other thing you can do. Now that we can declare variables in Excel, we can write the formula in a slightly different way, which is that first we will declare all the variables. So I'll say that C3 is my parameter 1, then D3 is parameter 2, and then E3 is parameter 3. Now we can continue by writing the same formula. So if I can just copy the entire thing. And let's just change this a little bit. We also need one more, which is the parameter average, which is F3. Perfect. Now that we have done that, now we can say parameter average, parameter average. Then we have parameter 1, we have parameter 2, we have parameter 3. Here as well, we have parameter 1, parameter 2, and we have parameter 3. And let's just make sure that we have not made any mistake here. Let's check. So we have, okay, I don't think we can call it PAR1 because that's already a cell that we have. We will have to put in an underscore here. So let me do that. Almost there. There we go. So you notice we get the same result. And in terms of the readability of the formula, I think it's a lot better now because in the previous one, it's very hard to trace all the 4 cells. And especially when you're facing an error or you want to explain the formula to somebody with a multi-workbook formula, it's very hard to explain what is C and what is D and what is E. You have to go and manually check that. Here, on the other hand, you are defining a variable, which means that a user, when looking at the formula, knows exactly what you're doing and what parameters you are